Hello everyone, welcome back in this video. So now let's solve furthermore general aptitude question from the GATE exam. So now particularly in this video, all these questions are taken from the GATE paper mechanical. So in short form we can say ME, mechanical engineering. But now here the mechanical paper is taken in the two shifts, shift 1 and 2. So all these questions are from the shift 1 paper. So we can say ME paper 1. And now here you can also find this same aptitude question in other paper too, because so multiple number of paper are taken in the same time. So whenever multiple paper is taken at the same time, the aptitude question are generally common in all paper. So you can find the same aptitude question in the architecture and planning paper. So we can say AP. And now here the year of this question paper is 2022. Here of course the exam is GATE, Graduate Aptitude Test Engineering. So now let's start the video with this first question. So question 1 says, after playing, and here again we have one blanks, hours of tennis, I am feeling, again we have one blank, tired to walk back. Now here we have to simply choose the word for those two blanks. Now look at the option. All the options contain 2 and 2, but now here these two are different. Here TOO and TWO. So now here if you look this word after this blank hours, here they are talking about the time of this playing of this tennis by any player. So now here simply here we have words hours. That means here we have to denote the quantity of time. So I can say the 1 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours. But now here from the options, so we can say here the 2 hours. That means this TWO is denoting the quantity of this time for which the player had played the tennis. Now here in the second part, I am feeling, that means this player is feeling tired to walk back. Now again here, so we have to in this blank, so we can put TOO. That means it denoting the amount of tiredness of this player. So this means this two means too much. So after playing 2 hours of tennis, this player is too much tired. So now here look at the option. Option D contain the correct set of words for those two blanks. In the first blank we have to put TWO. In the second blank we have to put TWO. That's it. Option D is the correct answer for this question. Okay, now let's solve question number 2. So question 2 says the average of monthly salary of M, N and S is 4,000 rupees. The average of monthly salary of N, S and P is 5,000 rupees. The monthly salary of P is 6,000 rupees. Then the question is, what is the monthly salary of M as a percentage of monthly salary of P? So now here in the question we have given the average of 3% salary. Now in the first part, that means in this first line, we have given the average of this M, N and S salary. So we can say, let's assume person M has salary M, person N has salary N and person S has salary S. And here we have given the average. So simply we have to divide this sum with 3. And now here the average is given in the question, which is nothing but the 4,000 rupees. So I can put 4,000 here. So now simply I can say the sum of salary of these three person N M salary plus person N salary plus person S salary is nothing but simply 12,000 rupees. So I can say this is nothing but our first equation. Now in the same way, from this second part, you can see the average of monthly salary of N, S and P is 5,000 rupees. So again, let's say N person N salary plus person S salary plus person P salary. And again we have given the average. Simply we have to divide this sum with 3. And now the average is given as 5,000 rupees. Now again we can say person N salary plus person S salary plus person P salary is nothing but 15,000 rupees. And we can say this is nothing but our second equation. But now here in the question the monthly salary of P is given, which is nothing but the 6,000 rupees. Here the monthly salary of person P is 6,000. So here we can easily subtract 6,000 from this 15,000 to get the person N salary plus person S salary, or the sum of salary of person N and S is nothing but simply 15,000 minus this 6,000. It will turn out to be 9,000 rupees. So now here we got the sum of N salary plus person S salary, which is nothing but the 9,000 rupees. So now here look at the first equation. So now simply we can reduce this part N plus S by this 9,000, because we know the sum of N salary plus N salary is nothing but the 9,000. So from the first equation we can say, from equation 1 we can say person M salary is nothing but 12,000 minus this 9,000. We can say it is nothing but 3,000 rupees. So now we got the person M salary, which is nothing but the 3,000 rupees. But now here in the question they are asking the what is the monthly salary of M as a percentage of monthly salary of P. So now simply to find the percentage we have to take the ratio of person M salary to the person S salary, because the question is asked with respect to this person P. So now here we can say let's take the ratio of person M salary to the person P salary. Now person M salary is 3,000 rupees and person P salary is already given in the question, which is nothing but the 6,000 rupees. So let's put it in the denominator. So now you can see this ratio is turned out to be 1/2. So now in the other word I can say the person P has double the salary as M have, or in the other word person M has half the salary as person P. So now we can say M salary is half as P's salary. So now we can say this half is nothing but the 50%. So in the other word we can say person M salary is 50% of the person P salary. So in the short form we can say person M salary is nothing but 50 prime 50% of person P salary. Now look at the option, you can see option A contain the correct answer. Now let's move to the third question. Okay, so question 3 says a person traveled 80 km in 6 hours. If a person traveled the first part with the uniform speed of 10 km per hour and the remaining part with the uniform speed of 18 km per hour. So now here the person had traveled the total distance, which is nothing but the 80 km, and the total time that person has taken for to travel this distance is nothing but the 6 hours. And now here the person has covered this whole 80 km in the two parts, one part with the uniform speed of 10 km per hour here, and the second part is in the 18 km per hour with the uniform speed. Now the question is that what percentage of the total distance is traveled at the uniform speed of 10 km per hour. Now simply we have to find the what percentage of the fraction of the total distance that is traveled at the 10 km per hour. So now here I can say the journey is taken in the two part, with sorry in the two constant velocity 10 km per hour and 18 km per hour. So we can say let's say for part 1 of this journey, and now I can say in the part 1 the velocity is 10 km per hour. So we can say velocity in the part 1 is nothing but the v1, which is 10 km per hour. And now here the distance, let's say d1, which is covered in this first part. Now we don't know what is the distance for this first part. So let's assume the person has traveled the x kilometer distance in the first part. So we can say x kilometer. Now let's move to the part 2. Now in the part 2 the speed is different. Part 2, the speed is 18 kilometer per hour. So we can say V2 is nothing but 18 kilometer per hour. And now here the distance is also different. So we can say, let's say assume, now here we have total distance is nothing but the 80 kilometer, and the from the 80 kilometer the x distance is traveled. So we can say the d2 which is nothing but the distance traveled in the second part is nothing but the 80 total distance minus the distance traveled in the first part, which is nothing but the x kilometer. So this quantity give the distance traveled in the second part, and the quantity is again in the kilometer because it is a distance. And now here we know the time is nothing but the ratio of distance traveled over the velocity. So we can say time is nothing but distance over velocity. Now here this equation is only for if velocity is constant, then and then we can say this equation is going to hold. So now here we have divided the question in the two part because we want the constant velocity to use this equation. So now here we can say the total time, which is nothing but the time taken in the first part plus time taken in the second part. So we can say t total is nothing but the time from the first part. So we can say let's call it t1 time for this first part of journey, and t2 which is nothing but time for the second part of the journey. So now here the total time is given for this whole journey, which is nothing but the 6 hour here. Here this 6 hours. So we can put total time as 6 hour, and now here the t1 is nothing but the d1 over v1, and we know that d1 is, as we have assumed, which is nothing but the x kilometer, and now here the v1 is 10 kilometer per hour. In the same way for the second part the distance is 80 minus x over the speed, and the speed here is 18 kilometer per hour. Now you can also check here our distance is in the kilometer and our velocity is in the kilometer per hour. So you can see this kilometer cancel with this one, and this will give the time in the hours. So that's why we have replaced this total time with the 6 hour, because we have all the unit in the kilometer per hour. So we left with the hour on the left hand side and also on the right hand side. So now that's up to this, all is good. Now let's try to find out the this unknown x. So now simply let's simplify this right hand side. So I can say here let's put 6 as it is. So now let's multiply the, let's give the common denominator on the right hand side. So now simply let's multiply this 18 with this x, so we end up with 18x. In the same way we have to multiply this 10 with this 80 minus x, so here we have 10 multiplied with 80, so we are getting 800, and here we have 10x, and now here we have to put the common denominator, which is nothing but the multiplication of 18 with 10, so which is nothing but the 180. So now let's multiply this 180 with 6, so it will turn out to be 1080. So we can say here 1080, and here let's subtract this 10x from this 18x, so we left with 8x here on the right hand side, and here 800 as it is. So now simply here from this equation we can say 8x is nothing but just simply 1080 minus 800, which turn out to be 280. So now simply we can find the value of x here by dividing this 280 by 8. So we can say the value of x here is nothing but the 280 over 8, and it will turn out to be 35. And here the x is nothing but the distance, and distance is in the kilometer, so we can say the x is 35 kilometer. So now we have find out the distance travel in the first part with this 10 kilometer per hour uniform speed, which is nothing but the 35 kilometer. But now the question is says what percentage of the total distance is traveled at the uniform speed of 10 kilometer per hour. So that's mean. So now here we can also say this x is nothing but the d1. So simply we have to find the fraction of the total distance. So simply again let's check the ratio, which is nothing but the d1, the distance traveled in the first part, or the total distance, and the total distance is nothing but the 80 kilometer. So we can say 80 kilometer, and now we have to find the answer in the percentage. So simply we have to multiply this fraction with 1000. So now 35 divided by 80 multiply with 100, so it will give 43.75 percentage of the total distance is traveled at this 10 kilometer per hour uniform speed. So now here you can see option C contain the correct answer. 43.75% of the total distance is traveled at the 10 kilometer per hour. In the other word, 43.75 distance is traveled in the first part, and the first part is nothing but this 10 kilometer per hour. So that's it. Option C is the correct answer for this question. Now let's move to the next question. Okay, so question 4 says four girls P, Q, R and S are studying languages in university. Okay, so now here we have four students P, Q, R and S. They are studying the languages in the university. Now here P is learning the French and Dutch language, Q is learning the Chinese and Japanese, R is learning Spanish and French, and S is learning Dutch and Japanese. Okay, so now here we have given the information about which student learning which pair of languages in the university. Now here given that French is easier than the Dutch, Chinese is harder than the Japanese, Dutch is easier than the Japanese, and Spanish is easier than the French. Now based on the above information, which girl is learning the most difficult pair of languages? So now here according to this question we have to find the student which is learning the most difficult pair of languages. So now here, so let's say we have four students. So we have student P, student Q, student R and student S. And now here this student P is learning French and Dutch. So we can say this student P is learning French. That means let's denote this French with capital F and this Dutch language with capital D here. So we can say F and D. Now this second student which is Q is learning Chinese. That means C and J here. So we can say Q is learning Chinese and Japanese, C and J. In the same way, the student R is learning Spanish and French. Again S and F. Now the last student S is learning the Dutch and Japanese. So D and J. Okay, so now here let's again cross verify it. So P is learning French and Dutch. So here P is learning French and Dutch. Q is learning Chinese and Japanese. Here Q is learning Chinese and Japanese. R is learning Spanish and French. And S is learning Dutch and Japanese. So D and J, yes. So now here simply let's move to this statement. It is very important because it's relate the difficultiness of one language with the other. So now here this statement says French is easier than the Dutch. So now here I can say this Dutch language, we have denoted it with capital D, is more harder than the French, because French is easier than the Dutch. Then we can say Dutch is harder than the French. So now here I put it here the greater than sign, because this greater than represent the difficultiness of this language. That means this greater than sign represent this language D is more difficult than this F. So now here let's read this sentence. So it says Chinese is harder than the Japanese. So in the same way, according to this rule, so we can say Chinese C language is harder than the Japanese. Again, we have to put greater than sign here, and we have to put the Japanese. That means J here. Okay. So now here in this third line, Dutch is easier than the Japanese. That means Japanese is harder than the Dutch. So again, J is greater than the Dutch. And now here in the last one, Spanish is easier than the French. Spanish is easier than the French. Then we can say French, which is nothing but the F, is difficult than the Spanish, H, S. So now here you can see here the Dutch language is already more difficult than the French language, but here from this condition we also know that the Japanese is even more difficult than this Dutch language from this condition. So now here we can put greater than sign again, here we can place, and here on the left hand side we have to put the Japanese, that means J here. And now here from this, again from this we have used this one, we have used this inequality. Now here let's move to this first one. So first one says Chinese is even more harder than the Japanese. So again we have to put the greater than sign in front of this Japanese, because the Chinese language is even more harder than this Japanese, that means C. And now here from this last inequality, F is more difficult than the Spanish. So here simply you can say Spanish is most easiest language. So now if we are moving in this direction, so we are moving difficult to easy. Here this one is difficult. So we are moving difficult to easy. So now here that means this left corner is denoting the most difficult languages, and as we move further, the language will become easier and easier. So now here the question is that which student is learning the most difficult pair of languages. But now here look at this most left hand. So we can say this Chinese and the Japanese is the pair of most difficult language, because it is located at the left hand in this or inequality. So we can say Chinese and the Japanese are the language which are more difficult than the compared to the other three. So now here look at the student. You can see student Q is learning the Chinese and Japanese, which is the most difficult pair of language from this inequality. So we can say this student Q is learning the most difficult pair of languages. So now look at the option. You can see option B is the correct answer. So that's it. Option B is the correct answer for this question. So now let's move to the question number 5. Okay, now let's solve question number 5. So question 5 says a block with a trapezoidal cross section is placed over the block with a rectangular cross section as shown above. Now here we have one rectangular box which is placed as the bottom place, and we have one trapezoidal cross section which is placed on the top of this rectangular box. So question asking which one of the following is the correct drawing of the view of the 3D object as is viewed in the direction indicated by the arrow in the above figure. So now here simply they are asking the view as we are looking from this direction as given by this arrow. So now here we have to see this object from this direction, and we have to draw the view as we are able to see. So now here simply we are able to see this whole front portion of this bottom rectangular box. So let's draw it here. So we are able to see this rectangular strip here, which is from this rectangular box, and here we are also able to see this front area of this trapezoidal. So we can say here we can draw in this way. So now here our front view will be something like that. Now look at the option. You can easily see option A contains the correct view as we are viewing from this direction as indicated by this arrow. So option A describing the correct view of this 3D figure. So option A is the correct answer. Now let's move to the question number 6. So question 6 says humans are naturally compassionate and honest. In a study using strategically placed wallets that appear lost, it was found that wallet with money are more likely to be returned. Now here the study revealed that the wallet, so it was found that the wallet with money are more likely to be returned. So now here this point is important. But now here in the second portion of this statement, say study says then the wallet without, here this sentence up to here, this study revealed that the wallet that appear lost with the money are more likely to be returned. Similarly, wallet here in the second part, wallet that had a key and money are more likely to be returned than the wallet with the same amount of money alone. Now here this statement is also important. So now here this result suggests that the primary reason for this behavior is compassion and empathy. So now question says which one of the following is the correct logical inference based on the information given in the above passage. So now here we have to find the logically correct statement that we can say from the above passage. Now again let's read the paragraph carefully. Humans are naturally compassionate and honest. In a study using strategically placed wallets that appear lost, it was found that the wallets with money are more likely to be returned than wallet without money. Similarly, wallets that had a key and money are more likely to be returned than the wallet with the same amount of money alone. This suggests that the primary reason for this behavior is compassion and empathy. So now here simply let's go through these four options one by one. So let's start with the option A. So option A says wallet with a key are more likely to be returned because people do not care about money. So now here this line is true. Wallet with the money are more likely to return. But now here they have given the reason for this because people do not care about money. But now here in the paragraph we do not have any information. Now here you can see the wallet that had appear lost, but they had money are returned. That means people are also care about money, because if this is the case then the wallet with the money will not return. So now here this reason is false. People do not care about money. This reason for this behavior is false because the wallet that appear lost with money are also returned in this study. So we can say this reason for this behavior is false in the first statement. So we cannot say this statement is logically correct from the above passage. So let's cancel this option A. So now let's move to the option B. Option B says wallet with a key are more likely to be returned because people relate to sufferings of others. So now here they have given the reason for this behavior because people relate to suffering of others. Yes, it is true because you can see here in the last line of this paragraph, this suggests that the primary reason for this behavior is compassion and empathy. That means here people are more compassion for the other people that they have lost their wallet. That's why wallet with the key are more likely to be returned than the money alone. So that means people are related to the suffering of others due to the loss of important keys. So we can say option B contain the correct logical statement from the above paragraph. Again let's read it. Wallet with key are more likely to be returned because people relate to sufferings of others. Yes, it is the true. Now let's also go through this remaining option C and D. So option C says wallet used in the experiment are more likely to be returned than the wallet that are really lost. Now here we do not have any such information, so we can also cancel this option D also. Option C also. And option D says money is always more important than the keys. Of course, it is always wrong because there are more chance for the wallet that had a key as compared to the money. So only option B is the contain the correct statement from the above passage. So option B is the correct answer for this question. So now let's move to the question number 7. Okay, so question 7 says a rhombus is formed by joining the midpoint of a side of a unit square. Okay, so now here we have formed the rhombus. A rhombus is formed by joining the midpoint of the side of unit square. So now let's do it here. So we have one unit square. So let's draw roughly here. And now here the dimension of this units, sorry, this square is 1 cross 1 because it is unit square. So we can say 1 cross 1, 1 cross 1. And now here this rhombus is formed by joining the midpoint of side of unit square. So now let's, from the rhombus is nothing but the four-sided figure. So here simply we have to connect all the midpoint of this four side of this unit square. So first of all let's mark it here. So here, so now simply we have to join this four red dot to find our rhombus. So let's join it. Let's join also these two and these two and these two. So now our rhombus is clear as shown in the red. So now the question is that what is the diameter of the largest circle that can be inscribed within the rhombus? Okay, so now we have to find the largest diameter of the circle that can be placed within this rhombus. Here this largest is important. What is the largest circle that can be placed within the rhombus? So now here if we want to place the largest circle in this rhombus, so now at the most, here the biggest circle that will look like this, something like this, because it is touching this side here. Here the center is somewhere here, and our circle will touch this side here and this side, also this side. So our circle will something look like this in the rough way. So now here simply the largest diameter is nothing but the this distance. The largest diameter here is this one. So let's call it d here. So simply we have to find this value of this d here, this distance as shown in this yellow color. So now here we know the side length of this square, which is nothing but the unit. So now here we can say this portion, this one is 1/2, because we have joined the midpoint of this unit square. In the same way this portion is also 1/2. And now here this figure is unit square, so we can say this angle is nothing but the right angle, and this side is nothing but the hypotenuse, this one as is shown in this yellow color, and which is nothing but also the side length of this rhombus. So now simply we can say this distance is nothing but the, according to Pythagorean theorem, under root of 1 by 2 square, which is 1 by 4, plus again this 1/2 square, again it will turn out to be 1/4. So I can say it is nothing but the under root of 2 over 4. It will turn out to be 1 over root 2. So now here we know this distance is nothing but the 1 over root 2. So now in the same way you can also find this distance, which is again also 1 over root 2, because this side is also 1/2 and this one is also 1/2. In the same way you can also say this distance is also 1 over root 2, because again this one is 1/2, this one is also 1/2. And similarly you can also say this distance is also 1 over root 2. Now this means this rhombus is nothing but the again the square with the dimension of 1 over root 2 cross 1 over root 2. So now our rhombus is nothing but the again square with 1 over root 2 dimension cross 1 over root 2. And now here the largest diameter is nothing but this total edge length, this one, and which is also same as this one. So we can say this distance, this one and this one are all identical. So we can say the largest diameter for this circle that can be placed within this rhombus, which is nothing but the side length of the rhombus, and which is 1 over root 2. So we can say the largest diameter is 1 over root 2. So option A contains the correct answer. That's it. Now let's move to the next question. Okay, so question 8 says an equilateral triangle, a square and a circle have equal areas. Okay, we have three figures: equilateral triangle, a circle and a square. And the condition is that all three figures have equal areas. And the question is that what is the ratio of the perimeter of the equilateral triangle to the square to the circle? So now we have to find the ratio of the perimeter of the equilateral triangle to the square to the circle. So now here let's first of all try to draw these three shapes. So now here the first shape is equilateral triangle. So let's draw it here. An equilateral triangle, all three sides are equal and the angle between any two line is 60 degree. So you can say this angle is 60 degree and this all three length are equal. So all the dimension are equal in the equilateral triangle. So let's assume the edge length for this equilateral triangle is a, small a. So this one will be also a, this one is also a. And now here the second figure is a square. So let's do it here. So our square will look like something this. Now here again we don't know the edge length. So let's assume this one is b and again this one is also b because it is a square. So that means all the dimension are equal. And the last one is a circle. But we don't know the radius. So let's assume this one has any general radius. Let's call r and let's draw a rough circle. Something like this. So now here the question is that simply we have to find the ratio of the perimeter of these three figures in the same order as the equilateral triangle to the square to the circle. So now here we can say the perimeter of this equilateral triangle is nothing but the total this distance a from this edge plus a and again plus a. So we can say the perimeter for this equilateral triangle is nothing but the 3a. Now we have to take the 3a because we have to take the ratio and the perimeter of this square is nothing but the b plus b plus b and plus b. So we can say 4 times b. In the last one, the perimeter of the circle, which is nothing but the circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r because the radius is r. So now here we have find out the ratio, but here we do not know the dimension of this a, b and r. Simply what we have to do, we have to find the relation between these unknown in such a way that we can cancel this unknown from this ratio. So now here to do this we have given this condition equal areas because all three figures have equal areas. So now we have to use this equal area concept to eliminate this a, b and r from this ratio and then we end up with our final answer. So now here let's start with this equilateral triangle. So now here the equilateral triangle has area of root 3 over 4 times a square, the area of equilateral triangle, and here the area is equal for all three figures. So now let's assume this figure has area a capital A, this one also capital A and this one also capital A. So we can equate this equation with capital A and we can easily find this dimension of triangle which is nothing but the A by simply just multiplying this 4 with a and dividing root 3 and again we have to take the square root because here we have a square. So we can say here we end up with 2 over under root of under root 3 multiply with under root of area. You can see that simply we have to make this a as a subject. So now here in the same way for this square we can also find the relationship. Here the area of this square is nothing but the b square because the dimension is b. So b cross b is area. So we can say b square is area of this square and area we know is a. So again we can say this b is nothing but simply under root of area under root of a. So now for the last figure which is circle and the area of circle is pi r square as we assume the radius is r and we have to equate this area with this capital A. So we can say here r is nothing but under root of area over under root of this pi. So now we have find out the relationship. Sorry, or in the other word, we have find out the dimension of this edge length for this triangle and square and the radius for the circle in this general term which is under root of area. Simply we have to replace this a, b and r with this equation, this one and this one. So now let's do it here. So So 3 here from this first term 3 will remain as it is. So we can say 3 and we have to multiply 3 with this a. So which is nothing but multiply 2 under root of area over under root of under root 3. Remember we have taken the under root twice for this 3 because already the one root is here and again we have to find this a. So again we have to take the root of this root 3. So we have taken the twice and now here for the square here 4 times b. So 4 remain as it is and b is nothing but under root of area. So in this way and now last for the circle which is nothing but the 2 pi r. So 2 pi remain as it is and we have to replace this r with this under root of area with this equation under root of area over under root of pi. But now here this is the ratio so we can easily cancel the common term and that is the benefit. So now here you can see the root area is common and area is equal. So we can cancel this root a with this root a and this root a. We can also cancel 2. These 2 will cancel. So here this 4 will become 2 and this 2 is also going to cancel. Now here in the last term we can also cancel 1 root pi from the numerator because here in the numerator we have pi and the denominator root pi. So we can simply cancel 1 root pi from this pi. So we left with root pi. So now here we left with, so let's write it here. What do we have after this cancellation? So now in the first ratio we have 3 over under root of under root 3 jam we have 2 jam only root pi in the third term. So we can say root pi. So now we got our answer. But now here look at the option, none of the option is given in this way. You can see this last 2 term is common in the option A and B. So either option A is correct or B is correct. But now here simply we have to further simplify this first term which is 3 over under root of under root 3 to get our final answer. So now here let's do it here. So now here the first term is nothing but the 3 over under root of under root 3. So now here I can say this is nothing but the 3 to the 1 over 3 to the 1/4. We have to just simply denote this under root in this way. So now here I can say this is turned out to be 3 to the 1 minus 1/4 which is nothing but the 3/4. So now here we can replace this 3 over under root 3 as in this way 3 to the 3/4. But now here again we have to simplify it. So now I can write this 3 to the 3/4 in this way 3 to the 3/2 to the 1/2. So now let's replace this 1/2 outer 1/2 with under root sign. So I can say under root of and here we left with 3 to the 3/2. So again we have to simplify a little bit. So we can say under root of, let's say here the 3 to the 1.5. So we can say 3 multiplied with under root of 3. You can see here we have power 1 and here we have power 1/2 and you can add those two numbers and you get 1.5. So now here we get this first this ratio this term with under root 3 multiplied with root 3. So we left with this ratio. So under root of 3 over root 3 jam 2 jam root pi. So now we got our final answer. You can see option D contains the correct answer. Under root of 3 multiplied with root 3 jam 2 jam root pi. So option B contains the correct answer for this question. Now let's move to the question number 9. Okay, so now let's solve question number 9. So question 9 says, given below are 3 conclusions based on the following 3 statements. So now here we have 3 statements and 3 conclusions. So statement 1 says all teachers are professor. Statement 2 says no professor is male. Statement 3 says some male are engineer. And we have 3 subsequent conclusions. So now here our task is that which one we have to find the which conclusion is logically true from the above three statement. So which one of the following option can be logically inferred? So here we have to find the correct conclusion that we can logically say from three statement. So now here to solve this kind of question, we have to draw the Venn diagram. So now here let's start with this first statement. So now here we have to draw the Venn diagram in such a way that this all statement must be true. So now here, so statement 1 says all teachers are professors. So now here in the statement we have two things. One is teacher and the second one is professor. And the statement says all teachers are professor. So now here simply in the Venn diagram. So now suppose if this area, or in the other word this circle, is representing the professor. Okay, so this circle, suppose this circle representing the professor, so let's denote it with capital A. So now here to satisfy this first equation, first statement, because the statement says all teachers are professor, so here simply the circle representing the teacher must be inside of this P circle. So here somewhere you have to put this circle. So let's put it here. So we can say this yellow circle representing the teacher. So let's denote it with T. So now here up to this point you can verify this Venn diagram according to this statement. You can also do in the reverse way. You can verify this statement by this Venn diagram. You can see, you can communicate both the way and you still get the same thing as given in this statement. All teachers are professor. Here you can see all teachers are professor because it is included in this professor area. So now let's move to this second statement. Statement 2 says no professor is male. Again here we have two things. One is professor and the second is male. But the statement says no professor is male. That means the circle representing the male is completely outside of this professor circle. Then and then this second statement is true. So now here we have to, let's put it here somewhere. So now here this red circle denoting the male. So let's put it M here, because the condition is that, or the statement is that no professor is male. That means this red circle is completely outside from this P circle. So yes, up to this point our Venn diagram is correct according to statement 1 and statements 2. Now here the last statement, statement 3 says some male are engineer. Again here we have two things. One is male and the second thing is engineer. And the statement says some male are engineer. But now here that means wherever the circle representing the engineer is must be intersect with this male circle. And then this statement 3 is true, because there are some engineer which is male, or the other word some males are engineer. So now here wherever we have to put the circle representing the engineer must intersect with this male circle. Now here this thing may happen in the two way. So now here, so let's say possibility 1. So we can say we have two possibility here. In the first possibility, this engineer circle is only intersect with this male circle in this way. So now here this circle representing the engineer, so let's put it E here. So now here this is the first case. Now in the second case we can also draw the Venn diagram in the other way till we are satisfying all three statements. So now let's quickly do it here. So this bigger circle here, this one is representing the professor. So this one is representing the professor. In the second, this yellow circle representing the teacher, and this red one is representing the male. So now up to this all the thing is same as in the possibility 1. Now here in the last step, it may be happen that this engineer circle may intersect with the professor or maybe not, because we don't have even more sufficient data to tell whether the possibility 1 is there or 2 is there. Simply we can also draw this engineer circle in this way, intersecting with this professor area and intersecting with this male area in this way. Again this circle is representing the engineer. So now you can see here both the Venn diagram, this one, first one and the second one, is still satisfying all three statement. You can see here, let's go again one by one. So statement 1 says all teachers are professor. You can see here in the first case all teachers are within this professor area. In the second case also all teacher is within the professor area. The statement 2 says no professor is male. Again, you can see here the male is completely outside from this professor. Here also, this male is completely outside from this professor. And the third one says some male are engineer. You can also see here some males are engineer. In the second Venn diagram, you can also see some male here. This person is also engineer. So now here both the Venn diagram is correct is according to this three statement. So now here let's move to the conclusion. So conclusion one says no engineer is professor. So now here conclusion one says no engineer is professor. Now here if the possibility one is correct, then this statement, this conclusion is right, because you can see here this engineer circle is not intersecting with this professor area. That means no engineer is professor. You can see here this circle is not intersecting with this professor area. So now if possibility one is true, then this statement is true. But now here in the second possibility, you can see here some engineers are there which are professor this area, but we are not sure whether the possibility one is happening or two is happening, because we don't have sufficient data from the further than these three statements. So we can say we are not sure whether this conclusion is 100% true or not. It may be happen 50 chance is there. If the possibility one is true, then this statement is true, but possibility is two is true, then this statement will be false. So now let's cancel this first conclusion. Now let's move to the second conclusion. So conclusion 2 says some engineers are professor. Here again you can see some engineers are professor in this way here. Some engineers are professor, that means this area intersecting with this professor. Yes, it is true only in the possibility 2. It is not true in the first possibility. So again we can cancel this second conclusion also. Now let's move to the conclusion 3. Conclusion 3 says no male is teacher. Yes, you can see here this red circle representing the male is completely outside from this yellow circle, which is representing the teacher. In the both case, possibility 1 and possibility C, possibility 2, you can see this third conclusion is going to hold, because no male is teacher. That means this red circle is completely outside from this yellow circle. So we can say conclusion 3 is 100% true based on the both diagram, or the other word, based on these three statements. So we can say only option A is the correct, because only conclusion 3 is the correct. So correct option is option A. That's it. Now let's move to the question number 10. Okay, so question 10 says in a 12-hour clock that run correctly, how many times do second, minute and hour hands of a clock coincide in 12-hour duration from 3 p.m. in a day to the 3 a.m. in the next day? So now here simply we have a 12-hour clock which is running correctly, of course. And so question is that how many times do the second hand, minute hand and the hour hands of a clock will exactly coincide in the 12-hour duration, which is starting from the 3 p.m. in the afternoon to the 3 a.m. in the next night or in the midnight. So now here simply, so now let's draw the rough sketch for the clock here. So you can say here, so here we start with the 12. So 12, 1, 2, here we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. In the last we have 9, 10 and 11. 9, 10 and 11. Okay, so now let's try to do the hour hand, minute hand and the second hand. So now here we start at the 3 p.m. So we can say our hand will exactly indicating with this 3. So this one is our hand. So let's denote H here. And the second hand is also at the 12, and the minute hand is also at the 12, because we start at the exactly 3 p.m. So second hand and the minute hand will exactly coincided with this 12 here. So this bigger one is representing the second hand, and this yellow which is under this second hand representing the minute hand. So now here as the time start from this 3 p.m. So now here this second hand and minute hand will start to rotate, and they will rotate in this direction. So now here in between somewhere here, the second hand will cross this minute hand 60 times in 1 hour. That means if the this hour hand move from this 3 o'clock to the 4 o'clock, then in this 1 hour duration, this second hand cross this hour hand 60 times. That means this second hand will exactly coincide with this hour hand 60 times in 1 hours. And for this minute hand, this will exactly coincide one times in the duration from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, somewhere in between this 3 and 4. That means at some time this hour hand and minute hand will exactly coincide in between 3 and 4. And now here the we have to find the how many times do the all the three hand, minute hand, second hand, hour hand, will coincide in this 12-hour duration, which is starting from 3 p.m. to the next 3 a.m. So here simply we have to prove that whether the this second hand, minute hand, and the hour hand will coincide any time between any how many times between 3 and 4. So now here simply we are sure that minute hand and the hour hand will exactly coincide between 3 and 4, but we are not sure whether at the same time this second hand is also coincide with this minute hand in the second hand at somewhere in between 3 and 4. So now simply if we find whether the all the three hand will coincide between 3 and 4, if the answer is yes, then we can say this will also happen with 5 and 4, 5 and 6 in the same way. And if they do not coincide between 3 and 4, then we can say this is never going to happen in any between any 2 hours. So now here, so again, now let's again draw the rough diagram for this square. Now here our main focus is only between 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So here we have 3 and here we have 4. So now here in the somewhere our hand is in between 3 and 4, so it will indicating in some in this direction somewhere here. And now here our minute hand will coincided with this hour hand in this way, so it will representing our minute hand, this red one which is at the below this minute hand is representing the hour hand. So now here simply we have to prove whether the second hand at this time at this particular moment is exactly coincided with this one or not. So now to verify this, we have to use the angular concept of the angular velocity of this all three hand. So now here we can say the angular velocity of our hand. So we can say the angular velocity of our hand, which is nothing but the omega s. So let's denote with omega s. The h is nothing but the hour. So now here this hour hand will complete 360-degree rotation, or the other word 360 angle in 12 hours, because it will complete one full rotation in 12 hours, because clock is 12 hour in the 12 hour format. So you can see here the angular velocity for this hour end is nothing but the 360 over 12. So we end up with 30 degree per hours. Here the unit of this angular velocity is degree per hours, because we have divided the total angle with time in the hours. So the dimension is also degree per hours. So now in the same way we can also say the angular velocity for this minute hand, which is nothing but the omega minute, which is nothing but the m. So now here the minute hand will complete 360 rotation in 1 hours, because it is completing the one full revolution in only 1 hours. And then 1 hour is complete. That means this minute hand will complete one full rotation in 1 hour. So sorry, let's write in yellow, because we have sorry yes ready we have denoted the minute hand in this color. So we can also write the speed in the same color. So now here we can say the angular velocity for this minute hand is nothing but the 360 degree. Here the degree per hours. And now here in the last one the angular velocity for the second hand. So let's write it in the white color. So I can say the angular velocity for the second hand, it will cover 360-degree rotation in 1 minute. So we have to convert this minute into hours, the 1 over 60, because it is converting it, because it is covering 360-degree angle in every minute. So because we have find out the velocity in degree per hour, so simply here we have to also put the time in the hours. So which is 1 over 60. So we can say 360 multiplied with 60, so it will turn out to be 216 0 degree per hours. That means our second hand will cover this much of angle in 1 hour. But now here we know we have assumed that at somewhere between 3 and 4 our minute hand and the hour hand will coincide here. So here we can say if we are measuring the angle from this vertical line, so we can say this angle for this hour hand and the minute hand will exactly same as we have assumed, because they are coincided between somewhere 3 and 4. So this angle will be same. So now here we have started from this 3, so we can say for this hour hand it is already at the 90 degree with respect to this minute hand which is initially at the vertical. So we can say, so angle of the minute hand, so let's write it here. So we can say angle of hour hand is exactly same as the angle of minute hand is according to this condition. So now here we can say the angle of hour hand is nothing but the 90 degree plus extra angle that this hour hand will make this one in this, let's say assume t, we don't know the time, so we can simply multiply this 30 degree per hours to time to get our angular movement. So we can say 30, which is nothing but the angular velocity, and let's multiply it with some unknown time, and that's we have to find. And let's equal this exactly same angle for this minute hand also, and the angular velocity for this minute hand is nothing but the 360 degree per hours. So again 360 multiply with this t, general any time. So now we can easily find the value of t here. So we can say here the t is nothing but the 90 over 330. So you can see t will turn out to be 0.27.27.27. And now here also remember this t is in hour because here the time is taken in the hour. So here this t will also in the hours. So now here, so now let's convert this time in minute. So simply we have to multiply it with 60. So you will get the time as 16.36 minute, 36.36 minute. So now we got the time in the minute. So now that means if the clock is started from this 3 a.m. and after this 16.36 minute, this minute hand and the hour hand will exactly coincide as we have assumed in this case. So now here after the clock is started from this 3 a.m. 3 p.m. in the afternoon, after this 16.36 minute, the second hand minute hand and the hour hand will exactly coincide. So now here, so now let's find what is the, so now let's find the angle, this final angle. I'm talking about this final angle which is making, which is the angle of this hour hand and the minute hand. So we can say here, let's set it here. So theta h equal to theta m, which is theta angle for the hour hand and the angle for the minute hand, which is nothing but the simply 360. Here you can easily say 360 multiply with this time. You have to multiply time in the hours, not in the minute. So we have to take this time. So simply we have to multiply 360 with 0.2727. So you get angle is 98.181 degree. And yes, it will make sense because we have already at the 90 degree angle, the angle is greater than the 90. Angle is 98.181. You can see here we have already 90 degree angle which is made by this hour hand, and this 8.181 degree is extra in this 16.36 minute. So now up to this point all thing is clear. So now let's try to find out the angle for this second hand. If the angle for this second is also 98.181, so we can say the all three hands are coincided at this plane as this place between 3 and 4. If the angle is something else than this one 98.181, then we can say this overhand and minute hand are coincided, but the second hand is somewhere else. So it is not our case because we want all the three hand, minute hand, second hand and the overhand are coincided at the same place. So now to find out the angle for this second hand, it is tricky because now here second hand will complete 360 revolution in 1 minute. So now look at the time here. The time is 16.36 minute. So now here in the so time is complete 16 minute and extra 0.36 minutes. So now here in this complete 16 minute, this second hand will complete the 16 revolution. So now after this completion of this 16 minute, our second hand is again at this floor, this place, which is nothing but the 12. So after 60 revolution, our minute second hand is also indicating at the 12. So now the extra time is only this 0.3636 minute. So we can say the time for this second hand is nothing but simply 0.3636 minute, because we are measuring the angle from this reference point. So now here we got the time in the minute, so simply we need time in the hours to find the angle from this angular velocity. Simply let's divide this number with 60 to get time in hours. So now if we divide 0.3636 with 60, so we end up with 6.06 multiplied with 10 to the negative 3. Simply we have to divide this, we have to multiply this time with this angular velocity for this hour hand, which is 21600. So now let's multiply this number with this angular velocity for this second hand. If we multiply those two numbers, so we are getting theta for the second hand, which is turned out to be 130.896 degree. So now here you can see the angle is other than this 98.181. So here we can log it. Our second hand will be somewhere here when this thing will happen. That means when in between 3 and 4 our hand and the minute will exactly coincided, our second hand is located somewhere here. It is not exactly at the same place where the minute hand and the second hand, because the theta is different. It is 130 point something. So we can say all the three hand will are not intersecting, are not coinciding in between 3 and 4. You can also find the same conclusion between 4 and 5, 5 and 6, 6 and 7, any consecutive 2 hours. So that means in 12-hour duration, anywhere these three hand will not coincide exactly at the same place. But now here, at the very same moment when there is exactly 12 hours in the clock, what happened? So now let's draw it here. Sorry. Whenever there is a 12 in a clock here, the minute hand, hour hand, and the second hand will exactly coincide, because all thing is started with from this 12. So now here we can say, because the horizontal angle for here, you can see here the angle are 0 for the hour hand, minute hand, the second hand at the very same time when there is a 12 o'clock. So we can say the angle for the hour hand, theta for hour hand, and theta for minute hand, and theta for second hand will be 0 degree when there is a 12 o'clock, because all three hand will coincide only at this one place, which is 12 o'clock in 12-hour format clock. So now in between 3 o'clock at the afternoon and 3 o'clock at the night, we are crossing this 12 only once. That means there is only one time where all three hand, minute hand, second hand, and the hour hand will coincide in this 12-hour duration, which is 3 p.m. to the 3 a.m. in the next day. So here there is only one place where these all three hand will coincide, which is 12 o'clock. So now the correct answer for this question is one time. It is in 12-hour time, there is only one time the minute hand, second hand, and the hour hand will coincide. But now look at the option, none of the option contain the one. So now in fact this question has grace marks, and this question is asked for the 2 marks. So this is MTA, because none of the option contain the correct answer. So it is marks to all, grace marks. Now if you have a confusion, then think yourself carefully, then you will get to the same conclusion. You can also do this all arithmetic by your own way, but you still get the same answer. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then like and share and subscribe to the channel. See you later on the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care of yourself.